Hello, my name is Mary Ziegert. I'm an elementary school teacher in North Thurston Public Schools and a FEPP Fellow for the Financial Education Public-Private Partnership. Welcome to today's training. I'm here to talk to you today about the K-2 programs that we are doing. I would like to introduce you into my program. Right now, I am presently teaching third grade. However, I will be teaching second. I have a background in fourth and fifth as well, so I do see how this all follows through. So to start with our program today, we're going to talk about financial education the K-2 way. To start off, it is important that everybody understand that all of our financial programs are also wrapped around and inclusive of our Washington State standards. This includes our Common Core standards. At every grade level, these programs integrate the standards so that we're not just hitting financial standards, we're hitting academic standards that go across the content areas as far as English language arts, math, science, social studies. It continues. So in kindergarten, we're going to start off by talking about earning an income. And this is kindergarten, first and second grade as well. And if you look at the standards, you can see that they're very age appropriate for what kids know and are used to dealing with in their environments and in their normal world. So the first section we're going to talk about is earning an income. So as we start off, we're going to be meeting Penny. Penny is a sweet little girl. She's about 5, 6 years old, and she is sitting on the steps of her home in the city. And you'll see that Mr. Lopez is walking his dog Mulatto by, and Penny is familiar with Mr. Lopez and Mulatto because she has recently been helping Mr. Lopez by walking Mulatto and trying to earn a little bit of money. Mr. Lopez is very good at helping Penny understand that there are other ways of dealing with money and using terms that Penny has never heard before. So as our story begins, Mr. Lopez is walking Mulatto, and he sees Penny sitting on the steps, and she's counting her money. And he says, well, good morning to her, and he asks her how she's doing and what she's up to. And she explains that she's counting the money that she got from Mr. Lopez for walking Mulatto. And she reminds him that she remembers the word income that he had taught her, meaning that that is money she received for doing a job for him. And this is where he introduces the concept of service. And he explains to her that what she did for him was a service, and that a service means you are doing things for someone in order to receive something in return. She asks if she could walk Mulatto again, and he says thank you, but no, he needs the exercise. But he also gets her talking, and she starts brainstorming and thinking about, hey, maybe she could earn money by walking other people's dogs. And he explains to her that that would make her an entrepreneur. And she learns this new word and starts to ask questions. And he explains that an entrepreneur is somebody who creates a business of their own in an attempt to earn money and become very self-sufficient. And so Penny starts talking to him about how she could make signs and put them in her yard, and she could go ahead and buy a bunch of leashes and watch other people's dogs, and if the weather's nice, she can take them for walks or maybe take classes and learn how to bathe the dogs and take care of the dogs. And maybe she'd have so much business that she'd have to ask 2 of her friends to help her with it, and that now she believes she's going to be rich. And Mr. Lopez explains to her that those are just really great ideas, but what she's not understanding is that all entrepreneurs have what they call resources, and those resources are the things that Penny mentioned, such as the leashes, the classes that she's talking, the helpers, and the weather, and that there are three types of resources. One is natural resources, which would be like the grass and the water and the fresh air. The human resources, which would be her friends helping her, and her capital resources, which would be the leashes and supplies that she would need to produce her business. And she's like, well, wow, wait a minute, Mr. Lopez, this is a lot to think about. And he says, yes, it is, but you're doing some great thinking. You got some great ideas. And so she thanks him and she goes on about her way. So as we start talking about this, we've introduced new concepts such as capital resources, economic wants, entrepreneurship, goods, human capital, human resources. These are all vocabulary words that are not what you typically would think of as K-2 vocabulary, but in reality, these are very real vocabulary words that can be used at this grade level. So we have a task. The task is called Busy Town. We are going to construct a busy town. It's a model business community. We're going to introduce the concept of entrepreneurship, and we're going to talk about its relationship to the resources that are used to produce the goods and services. So we start our day with just a background of Busy Town. Busy Town can be made just using, squares on a whiteboard or on a bulletin board. This works very well in many different ways. It can be adapted using construction paper, tag board, whatever you'd like. And what you see right now is I did a very simple format of Busy Town. I put a few bushes in there. In the center of the bottom left-hand screen, there's a little playground. In the upper right-hand corner, I put a little pond and some trees. And I start off by asking the students, what's missing in our town? And the kids will look at it, and some of them, little boys may say something like cars and trucks or buses. But most likely the kids are going to move towards, there are no buildings. We have to have buildings. So we start talking about what are those buildings? Well, people are going to say houses, and then they're going to start mentioning stores, malls, things like that. So you're going to have this sheet, which is activity 2.1, and this is working for an income. And what you see on this sheet is 6 different storefronts. Students have to decide, either by themselves in a small pair or a small group, what kind of business would they want to run in Busy Town. They will then pick their storefront. They will give their business a name. They will have to decide if that business is going to produce a product or is it going to provide a service. Then comes the more challenging part. Where should that business go? Then they're going to have to go back to the map of Busy Town and decide, well, if I have a toy store, am I going to put it by the park or am I going to put it by the playground where the kids are going to see it? If I have an ice cream store, is it going to be on the block where there's no other buildings? Or am I going to put it by the park or the playground or the pond? Where am I going to put my business? And that's where we start talking to the students about how this might be something that impacts where businesses go and how successful they can be. The next thing the students are going to do is they're going to create a little business card that's going to highlight their business and whether they're producing a product or a service. So they go back to Busy Town and they decide where they are going to tack on their business. And on this tab board is where you would have students actually cut out their business that they've colored, decorated, and put their business up. This would be a great time for, once they identify the location of their business, but their reasoning for where their business is going to be located, and for them to discuss with the class, presenting their business, showing their business card, and talking about what good or service they have. Now we'll go ahead and look at grades 3 through 5. Okay, during a break today, we're going to do what we call a geometry scavenger hunt. This works great with students at home. It works great with staff in buildings. What you will do is you will take, during your break, some time to see how many of these 20 shapes you may find in your home. You may only use an object for one of the shapes. So for instance, if I decided I was going to use a toilet paper roll for my cylinder, I cannot use it as a circle. Okay, it can only be used for the cylinder. If I wanted to use a picture frame for my square, I cannot also use it for the rectangle. Yes, a square is a rectangle, but no, you may not use them for both. So you do need to see how many of these you can find. It's a great activity for getting up, getting around, getting kids moving, and at the same time incorporating some of those grade level standards that we need. Good luck.